Greetings, fellow slayers and newcomers alike. Today we are creating the ultimate Drunken Master monk build in Baldur's Gate 3. Before we jump into the build, I want to speak directly to all the fans and supporters of the channel. I've got new content on the way that I'm genuinely excited for and passionate about. Moving forward, I won't be just focusing on builds, I'll be making more room for character studies, analysis, reviews, and other content that lets me fully express myself and everything I want to say. I've reached a point creatively where I feel pulled towards these deeper projects, and truthfully, locking myself into just builds and guides no longer reflects where I'm at or where I want this channel to go. I'm not quitting builds, but I play so many games across so many genres that I don't want the channel to stay boxed in. On top of this, I've also begun game dev and started on my first game. I'll have more to share about it later, but you can always follow the public devlog on GitHub, and if you want to support, the best way is to subscribe to any tier on Patreon, where you'll of course gain other benefits as well. I wouldn't have even been able to start game dev to this capacity if it wasn't for you all, so seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I love you. It's going to be a mountain to climb, and I hope to see you all at the summit. If you have any recommendations for content you want to see from me, please let me know. Written builds and guides on Patreon, channel membership for early access to videos, welcome to Purge Evil, thank you for stopping by, let's get into it. Character creation in level 1. To begin, some important items to note. The Hag's Hair for a permanent +1 bonus to Dex, Elixirs of Bloodlust to attack more often, and Potions of Hill Giant Strength to use as an alternative until you get the club or want to dual wield something else. Really, our potion slot should be saved for Bloodlust. For race, I chose High Elf, not only for the innate passives, but for the choice of cantrip, which will be none other than Booming Blade. This thing becomes ridiculously powerful, and so much has already been said about it, I'm not really going to go into great detail, but this will easily be our main attack. You can choose to play unarmed, but for today's variation, we will be dual wielding. At level 1 Monk, weapons you're proficient with can scale with either Dex or Strength depending on which is higher. You also get a bonus unarmed attack to make after your regular attack, and being able to make multiple attacks right at the start of the game already makes Monk one of the strongest classes, at least in the early game. On top of this, you have a manual bonus action attack with Flurry of Blows, which will be modified slightly with our subclass. Also, with unarmored defense, your wisdom modifier is added to your AC whenever you're not wearing armor. This doesn't apply to some gear pieces like light helmets, so you can still wear those and gain the benefits. Starting stats are Strength at 8, Dex at 17, Constitution at 15, Intelligence at 8, Wisdom at 16, and Charisma at 8. Alternatively, you can also put Constitution at 14 and Charisma at 10. Level 2. Here you get some very nice abilities, first with Patient Defense, causing attacks against you to have a disadvantage and giving you advantage on Dex saves. The next two are Step of the Wind Dash and Disengage, which activates the ability of your choosing, and both allow you to jump without using a bonus action. These are extremely useful and something that synergize very nicely with various gear pieces. As the Drunken Master, we're not going to be tanks. We're going to be get in, attack, and get out, and these will help quite a bit in several situations. Level 3. Before selecting our subclass, we unlock Deflect Missiles, which is an extremely valuable reaction that reduces the damage of a ranged weapon attack by 1d10 plus your Dex modifier plus your monk level. So essentially reduces the damage to 0, and if it does hit 0, you can then spend a key point to send the missile back to the attacker. Very powerful and very fun to use. Now, selecting Drunken Master as our subclass, we first unlock Cheeky Tipple, which makes you immune to being drunk, and when you drink alcohol, you'll regain half of your key points once per day. Second unlock is Drunken Technique, a modified version of your previous Flurry of Blows that also grants you 3 meters bonus movement speed and disengage, so you can kind of start to see that the playstyle is essentially baked into the subclass as well. The whole get in, attack, and get out deal. Level 4. At level 4, we first gain gain Slow Fall, which uses a reaction to gain resistance to falling damage. Next, we gain Intoxicating Strike, which causes the target to become drunk. This will buff you with Life of the Party, which gives you +1 AC and plus Wisdom modifier to your attack rolls against those drunk targets. You're essentially becoming one of the most annoying characters for an enemy to fight. For the feat, we will first take Tavern Brawler to deal more damage. This will be combined with either Hill Giant potions or my recommendation of wielding the club in your offhand, but more on that in the Act 1 gear section. Also, make sure to acquire the Hag's Hair around this level or level 5 to increase Dex to 18. Let's be real, you're too sloshed to care about finishing the Hag anyways. Level 5. Here we gain extra attack and stunning strike, which causes the target to not be able to move or make any actions. Level 6. Here we have another increase to movement speed, and our unarmed attacks now count as magical for the purpose of overcoming enemies' resistance and immunity to non-magical damage. As Drunk Man, you also first gain Leap to your feet. Nothing crazy, just uses barely any movement speed to get up from prone. Second is Redirect Attack, which essentially allows a free attack as a reaction and key point whenever an enemy misses you with a melee attack. Very nice. Act 1 Gear. Reminder that all gear with their effects and locations are listed in the written guides available on Patreon. Head is the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. Whenever you inflict a condition, which is all the time, you gain 2 turns of Arcane Synergy, which causes your weapon attacks to deal bonus damage equal to your Wisdom modifier. Chest is the Graceful Cloth. This increases your Dex by +2, which allows us to cap Dex at 20 without an ability improvement early on. Gloves are the Sparkle Hands for more damage, or the Bracers of Defense for a bonus to AC, which is extremely useful for this build. Boots can either be the go-to Disintegrating Nightwalkers, or you can go for the Line Breaker boots, which synergize quite nicely with Step of the Wind, which adds +1 bonus damage to your melee weapon attacks for each turn remaining. This is also a really good synergy with Rogue Thief, multi-classed with Monk, but I'll leave that up to you since this is a pure build video. Something to take note of though for sure, the Rogue Thief is likely the best multi-class with this build to bust it. Amulet is Broodmother's Revenge simply for bonus damage. Rings are basic with Ring of Protection for a bonus to AC and saves, and you can also wear the Strange Conduit Ring for more damage, as we will have some gear pieces that allow us to concentrate on spells, which will activate the effect. Melee weapons first in the offhand is the Club of Giant Hill Strength. Club of Hill Giant Strength. This increases your strength to 19 to synergize with Tavern Brawler and frees up our potion slot for Bloodlust. If you prefer to have a cooler offhand weapon, you can always just stick to the usual Hill Giant potion method instead. Main weapon is of course the Knife of the Undermountain King. Nothing to say about this that hasn't already been said. And the ranged weapon is the Bow of Awareness for a bonus +1 to initiative. Level 7. At level 7 we gain Evasion. When a spell or effect would deal half damage on a successful Dex save, it deals no damage instead and only half damage if you fail. This doesn't sound like much at first, but some may know that this is one of the most powerful defensive abilities in the game. You'll come to understand if you don't already why this is actually really good. We also gain Stillness of Mind, which immediately removes Charmed or Frightened if it ever happens. Level 8. Here we gain a feat which will simply be ability improvement for +2 Dex to cap at 20. Level 9. Here we gain Sobering Retaliation, which synergizes with Intoxicating Strike. With this, you hit a drunk target to sober them and deal bonus psychic damage. On hit, you also lose Life of the Party. This is some really nice bonus damage to stack, and you could even add the Resonance Stone. We also get Advanced Unarmored Movement, which lets you jump farther but also makes it so difficult terrain doesn't slow you down, which is incredibly powerful. Act 2 Gear. Head, I'm still wearing the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. Chest is optional with the Moon Devotion Robe. This essentially just gives you a little bit more defensive capability, but isn't really necessary. Gloves are the flawed Helldust Gloves for bonus damage. Cloak is the Cloak of Protection for bonus to AC and saves. Ring, you might want to swap one of the previous rings for Ring of Free Action, making it so you're immune to being restrained and ignore difficult terrain. Melee weapon is optional, but I do like the Render of Mind and Body for extra psychic damage on attacks with advantage. And ranged weapon is of course the Darkfire Shortbow, granting you cold and fire resistance, as well as a free use of haste once prolonged rest. Also, remember haste uses concentration, so it'll activate the Strange Conduit Ring if you're wearing it. Level 10. Here we gain Purity of Body, making you immune to poison and disease completely, like a paladin. Level 11. At level 11, here we gain our final Drunken Master ability with Drunkard's Luck, which simply allows you to negate disadvantage when rolling abilities, attacks, or saves. It costs 2 key points but can come in pretty clutch. Level 12. Now finally at level 12, the last feat can be any of your choosing. I simply chose Alert, but I encourage you to have some fun with it. Act 3 Gear. Head, I'm still wearing the diadem. Chest can of course be the Drunken Cloth, but I will actually stick with the Garb of Land and Sky. This also synergizes with Step of the Wind, causing your next attack to have advantage and dealing bonus force damage. You also gain Blade Ward whenever using Patient Defense. Gloves can either be the Crater Flesh gloves for big damage on crits, or the Helldust gloves for sustained damage. This is really a preference option, and the gloves of soul catching are also quite nice. Boots are still the Line Breaker boots, but you could also use the Boots of Uninhibited Kushigo, which causes unarmed attacks to deal bonus damage equal to your Wisdom modifier. Just depends on the weapons you use or if you want to go unarmed. Cloak is the Cloak of Displacement, which essentially just makes it harder for enemies to hit you. I've used this in several builds, and I do think it's worth using over the Cloak of Protection. Amulet is of course the Amulet of the Drunkard, regaining 2d4 HP per turn whenever you're drunk, and increases your drunken state by 5 turns. Main melee weapon is now Bloodthirst, which makes enemies vulnerable to its piercing damage, allowing for massive attacks. It also reduces the number needed to crit by 1, and even gives you True Strike as a bonus action, which is kinda cool. You're nothing but a damage dealer, purely get in, attack, and get out of the way. Just remember you're sloshed, and your drunkenness will handle most of the heavy lifting. If you made it to this point in the video, you are now obligated to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you thought this build was trash, you are now obligated to dislike the video and come up with something better in the comments. Both of you are now obligated to ring the bells to not miss out on future written builds and guides are available on Patreon, and by supporting you not only help keep the channel alive, you directly support my dreams of game dev to hopefully make some of the best games ever created. That is truly the end goal, and I'm deeply thankful for each and every one of you. Sticker sheets are available on the Purge Evil shop, and you can protect yourself from cyber demons by signing up for NordVPN at a discount using my link below. You can also support with channel memberships for early access to videos, and the Discord is linked below if you want to connect. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, Purge Evil.
Oh, yeah, crown in my palm, but I ain't put it on. Yeah, crown in my palm, but I ain't put it on. Yeah, crown in my palm, but I ain't put it on. Yeah, crown in my palm, but I ain't put it on. Yeah.